Hello everyone, my name is Gavin and this is the Orthodox Heathen, the channel where we examine and answer questions from the lore. Today's video, the top 5 misconceptions in modern heathenry. Misconception number 5, Valhalla is the heathen heaven and hell is our place of punishment. So it's not very hard to see where this misconception comes from, but nothing could possibly be further from the truth. Grimnismal stanza 14 tells us that the only people who get into Valhalla are the Vapndalder, the weapon slain, or those who die in battle. So Valhalla cannot possibly be this realm of reward when you have to specifically die in battle to get there, and it doesn't make any mention of morality, right action, or even belief, just the mode of death. And the same can be said for Helheim. In chapter 34 of the Gylfaginning in the Prose Edda, we learn that hell receives those who die of sickness and those who die of old age and those who die of natural causes. So those who just die normal deaths or accidental deaths, or who are murdered in the case of Balder, end up in Helheim, which is again not a realm of punishment, which, as it says in chapter 34, hell even gives out homesteads and provisions to those who are sent to her. So, as we can see, Valhalla is not our version of heaven, and hell is not our place of punishment. Now, we do have a place of punishment, but we'll get to that a little later. Misconception number 4, that we don't have a place of punishment. Continuing on from misconception number 5, we do actually have a place of punishment, but Helheim is not that place of punishment. The place of punishment is known as Nostrand. So Nostrand, as attested to in the Volusbau, stanza 38, is essentially the place where those who commit the most heinous of crimes go. Those crimes being murder, adultery, and oath-breaking. So we do actually have a place of punishment in heathenry, and that place is Nostrand. Misconception number 3, fictive kinship. A lot of people in the heathen community address each other as brother and sister. Now, this is extremely damaging to our idea of fictive kinship given to us by the arch-heathens. So what is fictive kinship? Fictive kinship is essentially assigning a place in the family to someone who you are not married to, who is not brought into your family through marriage, and someone you do not share consanguinal bonds with. That is, for example, Odin and Loki having blended their blood and thus becoming blood brothers through oath. So why is it a problem for people to call people they don't know brother or sister? Well, the issue stems from our idea of frið. So frið is a lot more than just peace. Frið is actually a binding contract between members of families and between those who share fictive kinship. It is an oath not to do harm to that individual, and doing harm to someone you share frith with is one of the worst crimes that can possibly be committed. And for more reading on this topic, I recommend reading Wilhelm Grönbeck's Culture of the Teutons, the chapter Frith of the same name. And so, universal kinship, as taught in modern heathenry, is a very large misconception when we take a look at arch-heathen fictive kinship. Misconception number 2, we have very little lore and do not know how the arch-heathens practiced. This is simply not true. As a matter of fact, I don't even know where this misconception comes from, but I see it on the internet at least once a week. We have a lot of lore. We have the Konungsbok, which is the Codex Regius, that part of the Poetic Edda that was compiled in the 13th century. We have that which teaches us the gods, teaches us about Ragnarok, teaches us about cosmology, afterlives, a good deal of what comprises heathen theology. And not only that, but we have numerous sagas. We've got the Heimskringla, we've got the Prose Edda, which is a treasure trove of information once you cut across some of the Christian Romanized references. We have the Heimskringla, which is the same way. We have the Landnámabók, we have the Fleríðarbók, we have the Hauksbók. We have so many sagas that talk about arch-heathen times and arch-heathen practices that it's almost inexcusable for there to even be a misconception that we have very little lore of. So, misconception number 2, we have very little lore. Obviously not true. And last but not least, that Ragnarok is cyclical. Now, this is probably the most contested misconception here on this list, but when we take a look at the lore and we take a look at the heathen theology, Ragnarok cannot possibly be cyclical. How can an event reoccur when everyone who facilitated it and caused it to happen is dead? We no longer have Odin to lead the Einherjar, and in the stanzas after Ragnarok happens, we're no longer told that the Einherjar are gathered in Valhalla. We no longer have Loki to captain Naglfar. We no longer have Surtur to lead the sons of Muspelheim. We no longer have any of these beings who took part in this war. And so how could Ragnarok possibly be cyclical? In reality, in heathen theology, it is not. Ragnarok is a one-time event to wipe the slate clean for a new and better world, as it says in the final stanzas of the Volaspell. Thank you everyone for sitting here with me today. My name is Gavin. This is the Orthodox Heathen. This has been the top 5 misconceptions in heathenry. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.